Hey there folks, Mike for CMCC Builds here with another installment of OCR. After Vax, you know we gotta complete the Twin Circle. The Vox Machina treasurer played by the treasure in all of our hearts, Laura Bailey. If you're not familiar with the series, I aim to take the character concepts of the Critical Role cast and build them as effectively as possible from an optimizer's perspective, without losing the essence of the character, all within the 2024 rule set. If you're not subscribed, take the 2 seconds to do so now. If the content isn't what you expect, or hope for, then feel free to unsubscribe at any time. You don't need my permission, obviously, but you do have my support. Now that you've subscribed, wink wink, let's tackle everyone's favorite arrow slinging, frugal, broom flying, stubby bear mama, Vex'ahlia, as we dive into today's episode of Optimizing Critical Role. Once again, starting with species, we grapple with the question of how the hell do we make half-elves in a game that no longer supports half-elves as a racial selection? If you watch the Vax video, you know that there are 3 options available to us. We can revert to the 2014 races via backwards compatibility and pick the old half-elf. For Jeremy Crawford, we can pick an elf and flavor it as a half-elf and keep all the elf mechanics, or go with human and flavor as half-elf. My goal is to use all 3 options on all 3 half-elves in Vox Machina, and since we used option 3 for Vax, that leaves options 1 and 2 for Vex. For this build, we'll go with option 2, the 2024 Elf. That gives dark vision out to 60 feet, advantage on saving throws to avoid or end the charm condition, and trance, the ability to long rest in 4 hours and avoid magic that puts you to sleep. I don't know that the type of elf the twins' father Sildor is ever specified, but it seems pretty clear to me that he's a high elf. We'll choose that for the elven lineage. That gives access to the Prestidigitation cantrip, which can be changed out for another wizard cantrip that for a long rest, detect magic at level 3 and Misty Step at level 5. With Vex being a high wisdom character, we'll select that as the casting stat for these spells. With Keen Senses, take Perception, still the king of skill proficiencies after a decade. And with the languages, take Elvish and Common Sign Language. I'm taking the latter only to make a point that this is the default best language option now. If your entire party takes it, you can communicate silently. Think of the family from A Quiet Place for reasons why that can be advantageous in an adventuring fantasy setting. For background, take the Guide, which allows for ability score increases to Dexterity, Constitution, and or Wisdom. The feat provided is Magic Initiate Druid, which will give some nice spells that Vex will certainly make good use of. The Stealth and Survival skills. And tool proficiency in Cartographer's tools. With the Magic Initiate feat, we'll go with Wisdom as the casting stat, of course, and take Guidance, the king of cantrips, and create Bonfire for a good ranged option that can hit multiple squares and uses a save instead of an attack roll for those instances with disadvantage and or super high AC enemies. I would absolutely flavor this as a flaming arrow that strikes the ground and lights it ablaze. For the level 1 spell, Absorb Elements is a strong grab, especially for someone whose entire motivation is derived from the damage a red dragon caused. With the ASI, we'll bump Con 1 and Dex 2 as we hop over to ability scores. Laura rolled an 18, 15, 2 13s, 9, and 7. With the 2014 rules, I'm totally on board with Laura's decision to dump strength, but in 2024, the days of low strength ranged archer builds are dead. A ranged hand crossbow juggling fighter can get away with dumping strength, but not a bow user. So we need a 13 in strength, 15 in dexterity since this will remain a ranged build, 13 in constitution, 7 intelligence, 18 wisdom to take advantage of all the spell uses along with the animal companions that now work off your wisdom rather than their own stats. And finally, a big change from the campaign, we put the 9 into charisma. At first, this may seem not to fit the perceived regal nature of Vex'ahlia, but internally, she's a very insecure person, easily offended, quick to be hurt by others who she thinks may be in a higher station than her. Much of her journey was coming to grips with her relationship with her father and how that affected her own perceptions of self-worth. I just don't see that as a high charisma character. It's a facade, at least initially. The background ASI bump, dexterity to 17 and constitution to 14. The days of no mod constitution scores are over. For the class, no surprises here, we're going with the new ranger. The new ranger is interesting. Not in the sense that the playability of the class is more interesting than it was, not at all actually. Rather, the effect the changes to the game have had on the class as an unintentional counterbalance to the improvements of the class is one of the most interesting things to happen in this new version of D&D. What do I mean? The Ranger's class features are an improvement over the 2014 version of the class. Deft Explorer, Weapon Masteries, Level 1 Spellcasting, Favorite Enemy, Roving, Tireless, Nature's Veil all contribute to a base Ranger class that's more powerful than it was previously. These changes come at the cost of interesting mechanics, some would say the soul or heart of the Ranger, The 2024 Ranger lacks that creative uniqueness that other classes have. It's kind of bleh. The primary feature of the class is the Hunter's Mark spell, which simultaneously is both uninteresting and empirically weak. It lacks power from a storytelling and mechanics perspective. Not good. Even so, my previous statement holds true. The 2024 Ranger has stronger base class features than 2014, yet the changes to the game have made the class weaker overall. How can that be? 3 primary culprits: changes to the surprise rules, conjure animals, and the sharpshooter crossbow expert combo. Previously, the Ranger, with access to Pass Without a Trace, a spell that Laura cast 64 times, by the way, could cast this spell, have the party sneak through or into encounters and surprise the enemies, potentially skipping their entire first round of combat, which is quite often enough to end the encounter either technically or effectively by killing all the enemies or rendering them weak enough to no longer have a shot to challenge the party. This made the 2014 Ranger extremely viable on its own as a force multiplier for the party, but 2014 Ranger didn't stop there. They eventually got the Conjure Animal spell, much later than the Druid, but at a point where extra bodies in the combat arena still can greatly influence the direction and outcome of the combat. This was one of the most powerful 3rd level spells in the game, and any class with access to it instantly becomes a workable option. And finally, with the power attack of Sharpshooter along with the negation of cover as a defensive option of enemies, and the bonus attack from Crossbow Expert, the Ranger could supplement those powerful concentration spells with dual-wielding hand crossbows for 2 to 3 powerful attack options from range. Crossbow Expert allowed for an additional attack via bonus action, keeping the dual wielder on par with Polearm Masters and ahead of even non-dual wielding fighters. Adding a +10 to damage for each of those attacks while mitigating the -5 with the archery fighting styles +2 to attack rolls turned an effective force multiplier into a potent damage threat. All of that has changed in 2024. Surprise no longer disallows movement or actions from being taken, effectively skipping turns. Now it only results in a combatant with disadvantage on their initiative roll. Losing initiative is bad, but not devastating to a combat SACOM. The Conjure Animal spell has been changed to a Beyblade style area of effect spell that loses the benefits of having a large number of bodies on the map. Still powerful, the spell lacks the game-changing dominance it once had. And finally, Crossbow Expert no longer provides a bonus action attack as part of the feat, which has shifted to the light property itself. And with Sharpshooter no longer providing the power attack of -5 +10, the damage bonus comes from Great Weapon Master, which only applies to heavy weapons. The days of the hard-hitting hand crossbow user are over, as is this Ranger rant. For the core Ranger traits, I'm going to stick with the more traditional Ranger skills to try and bring up that aspect of the class that's missing from the core mechanics. Animal handling, nature, to a lesser extent, insight are excellent selections complementing the guide, background, stealth, and survival. Favorite enemy auto prepares Hunter's Mark and gives 2 free castings. At level 1, this is actually a pretty solid feature. For the weapon masteries, we will of course take the longbow, which has the slow mastery, reducing speed by 10 feet, especially as a ranged character, is quite nice. With the second mastery, take the scimitar for the Nick property. This allows for dual-wielding scimitars and melee to get an extra attack as a bonus action. Vex had no melee weapons in campaign, but if we're optimizing, that should certainly change, as getting caught in melee is something that can and does happen, especially in tight quarters. At level 2, another Ranger level gives Deft Explorer, where Vex picks up 2 languages and expertise in a skill. Those languages should be Draconic and Abyssal to match her in-campaign languages and expertise in Perception. Normally I'd advise against doubling up a party's expertise in the same skill, but since Vax also had expertise in Perception, and the 2 would likely both require excellent Perception to survive on their own for so long, I think it makes story sense to double up here. Vex also gets a fighting style here, and of course, archery is the only option. At level 3 with the subclass selection, we're sticking with the Beastmaster. The 2024 Beastmaster is just light years better than the terrible 2014 version. Now using templatized stat blocks that utilize the Ranger's Wisdom score for the Beast's armor class, attack, and damage rolls, this Beast can be an effective combat option that doesn't need to be hidden away during tough battles. The attacks use the Ranger's bonus action, which doesn't play nice with Hunter's Mark, but such is the Ranger life. Interestingly, the Ranger isn't stuck with just a single option. The Beast can be one of 3 options and changed out every long rest. The Beast of the Land would be flavored as Trinket the Bear, but Vex could also have Knick-Knack the Narwhal, stabbing and grappling prey with its unicorn-like tusk, or Bauble the Bird of Prey, taking advantage of the flyby to get in and out of danger effortlessly. At level 4, here we take Great Weapon Master, which has seen some big changes as well. The Mastery ability, instead of a -5 +10, provides a flat proficiency bonus damage increase on any attack with a heavy weapon as part of the attack action. The Hue feature remains the same, which provides additional attacks on crits and kills. Level 5 gives extra attack. Don't forget that one of the ranger's attacks can be sacrificed to have the beast take an attack during your attack action as well. Level 6, Roving bumps Vex's speed by 10 feet and gives her a climb speed and a swim speed, which makes the ranger quite nimble in combat. At Ranger 7, you can command the beast to take an action and also command it to take the dash, disengage, dodge, or help action using its bonus action. This helps the beast's survivability along with the flexibility in combat. At 8, another feat, and here Vex will take Sharpshooter, cementing her skills with the bow. This feat still allows ranged attacks to bypass cover, which is huge if your table uses this rule. This 2024 version also takes the firing and melee feature from Crossbow Experts, so the need for a melee weapon goes away. And finally, the bow's range increases with the long shots feature in the feat. Level 9. 2 more skills with expertise, and here take animal handling and insight. Level 10 provides the new version of the tireless feature from Tasha's. Rangers can now give themselves 10 hit points equal to 1d8 plus wisdom mod, and do so wisdom mod times per day. And they can also decrease exhaustion when they finish a short rest rather than just a long rest. This is kind of a cool mechanical feature that plays into the ranger as a long distance traveler. Bestial Fury at 11 allows the beast to attack twice with its action and benefit once from Hunter's Mark. Why would Vex or anyone concentrate on Hunter's Mark at this point? I don't know, but the option is there. Level 12, another feat. Here we take the fantastic Mage Slayer. Concentration breaking is strong, but Guarded Mind is so damn good. It's going to be hard to pass up on most builds. We've already taken it in this series, and we will take it again before the series is over for sure. Alright, it's level 13. In campaign, Laura took rogue levels here. She wanted to be a rogue from the jump, but her twinsy beat her to it. We did the rogue ranger split with Vax though, and I just don't love it for Vex, even if I do for Laura. If we want some extra skills and expertise, we can go that route, but that seems kind of redundant to me. We're going to stick with Ranger for now. At Ranger 13, unfortunately Rangers don't get much in the way of features. Relentless Hunter prevents damage from breaking concentration on Hunter's Mark. Why would Rangers use Hunter's Mark at level 13? I don't know, this sucks. Swing and miss, Jeremy. Level 14, Nature's Veil, Invisibility, Wisdom mod times per day, not bad. Ranger 15, Share Spells. This is a pretty cool feature that probably sounds better than it is. When you target yourself, you can also affect your Primal Companion beast with the spell. There's some good Ranger spell options for this, but not a ton. We'll have to choose wisely. And we're going to hold off on Ranger 16 so that we get an epic boon here at character level 19, which means we're multi-classing out of Ranger. It may be a little early in the story timeline, but as the campaign was coming to its climax, Vex'ahlia agreed to be tested by Pelor by ascending his tower before time elapsed, receiving the blessing of the Dawnfather, and becoming his new champion. For this, we're gonna take cleric levels. It's a nice complement to the ranger in both mechanics and story. And with the 2024 updates pushing back the cleric subclass to level 3, the level and story progression will perfectly align as Vex achieves level 18 2 episodes before becoming Pelor's champion. At Cleric 1, players now get to select the Divine Order. The Thaumaturge gives a bonus cantrip and a bonus to Arcana and Religion checks. Doesn't really fit Vex. Protector, on the other hand, gives proficiency in martial weapons, which she already has, and training in heavy armor that allows her to wear magical chainmail without a movement penalty due to her strength score. Cleric 2, Channel Divinity, allows for the classic Turn Undead feature to be used, or the new Divine Spark to either heal or damage a nearby creature. At Cleric 3, the subclass. Here we have 2 great options. If we're looking only at 2024 classes, there's no question that Light Cleric is the way to go. It's a solid choice that fits the champion of the Dawnfather perfectly. For raw power though, I think we gotta go with the Peace Cleric. Throughout her adventuring career, Vex has been struggling with her need for vengeance. The Elvish word Sinaith, or forgive, was written on her bow. That, to me, sounds like a Peace Cleric. And on top of that, at level 3, Peace Clerics get Aid, Heroism, Sanctuary, and Warding Bond auto-prepared. A choice of skill proficiency, and here we're going to take Persuasion. Now this aligns with Vex's personal growth and her confidence and strength conquering those feelings that she's less than, coming to fruition as Lady Vex'ahlia de Rollo and a member of the Tal'Dorei Council. But the big additions to the Peace Cleric's tool belt are Emboldening Bond that allows Vex to select proficiency bonus number of creatures within 30 feet and bond them for 10 minutes to give a D4 bonus to attack rolls and ability checks, or a saving throw once per turn. This ability can be used proficiency bonus times per day. It was good at level 1 in the 2014 rules, and it's good at level 18 in both rule sets. Additionally, Balm of Peace gives Vex a Channel Divinity option to move up to her speed without provoking opportunity attacks. And when she moves within 5 feet of any other creature during this action, she can restore a number of hit points to that creature equal to 2d6 plus Wisdom modifier. At level 19, back into Ranger for another level to get a feat, and here Vex gets an epic boon. Lots of good options, but let's go with Boon of Dimensional Travel to give a 30-foot resource-free teleport every turn, and we'll top off a dexterity in the process. And finally, at level 20, Precise Hunter gives advantage on all attacks with a Hunter-marked target. Nice ability that makes Hunter's Mark actually usable in the right situation. For spells, let's look at the Ranger first. We want to be conscious of the Share Spells feature with our selection. The buff to Cure Wounds makes it a viable selection, potentially over Goodberry, and with the ability to double that through Share Spells, it can be a very solid first level spell. Entangle is a strong spell at lower levels, but loses potency beyond tier 1. Fog Cloud is always a good option to have. Pass Without a Trace, even with the nerfs to Surprise, is still a must-have option when available. Summon Beast gets a lot of hate, especially among some optimization circles, but it's a decent option. It's middling, but can be fun. Conjure Animals is still strong, but not broken. Conjure Barrage gives Vex a decent area of effect damage option when concentrating on another spell. Daylight is just nice to have when fighting things like vampires, especially now that it actually produces daylight. Side note, the exact moment I stopped watching Campaign 3 of Critical Role was when Daylight was cast against a bunch of undead creatures around episode 30 or so. Matt treated it as actual daylight, which effectively nullified the entire combat. It took a challenging encounter and made it boring, all from a misread of a spell. Something Matt used to criticize Marisha back for in Campaign 1. Now mistakes happen, but man, that really bothered me for some reason. I'm just glad that the spell was fixed in 2024, so these type of things don't happen more often. Revivify is just a good spell to have. Conjure Woodland Beings, again, completely different from 2014, but still strong. Freedom of Movement is a strong option that also can be shared. Same with Guardian of Nature. Commune with Nature is a good option when you need information, and Steel Wind Strike when you need to slap a bunch of creatures with some force. Cleric spells, Mending, Thaumaturgy, and Toll of the Dead are some cantrip options. It's kind of a slim pickings with clerics. Bless, Command, Healing Word, Heroism, and Sanctuary are actually all good spells even late in the game. Same with Aid, Lesser Restoration, Prayer of Healing, Silence, and Warding Bond. And that, my friends, is Vex'ahlia. Hits hard with a bow, has some furry backup that can actually do some work, a wide array of features and spells that cover all aspects of the game. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's make sure people get to see these videos so I can keep going with the series, and I'll see you here next time, folks.